Oh, well, I wonder, he is dying to answer this question. Do you believe that money can make you happy?
Sure, it's a really controversial question. There's a really good TED Talk that's just come out, and it's the longest piece of research that's ever been conducted on humankind. And basically what the research is all about is what makes people happy. So they took 900 men, and over the last 75 years, they followed their lifestyle. And the one common denominator amongst all the guys that were extremely happy actually had nothing to do with money.
Wow.
And it had to do with deep, intimate relationships.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
And this coming from a certified financial planner. Well, Grant is here to unpack credit ratings this morning. We are talking about, obviously, the need to build a positive credit rating, but also how we go about that. So, again, if we can just reiterate, why is it so important? In what instances do people go to your credit rating?
Okay.
And what are some of those warning signs?
Yeah, so I think two really good examples that come to mind that most people relate to is if you want to buy a property, and you go to a bank and you want to borrow money. Once again, they're going to look at what does your credit rating look like. If you've got a good credit rating, they're going to give you a preferential interest rate. If you've got a bad credit rating, you're going to get a negative interest rate or a much higher interest rate. And on the other side of the scale, you've got renting a property at the end of the day. So when you rent a property, the rental agencies are once again going to look at your credit rating. If your credit rating is not so great, then obviously you're not going to be able to get the property at the end of the day.
It's almost like a character reference in some way. I think certainly people sitting on that side of the financial world, that's one of the things you look at to see if a person is going to be able to meet their side of the agreement. So let's remove everything. We're starting out in our financial life. We've got a zero credit history. Where do we begin? What are some of the things we should do to grow our credit rating?
Yeah, so I think this is a really important question because you need to be quite responsible with this because a credit rating is derived on your debt.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get into a situation where you are having too much irresponsible debt. So a really important starting point would be a cell phone contract, for example. Everyone uses a cell phone contract, so therefore you can start with that, and that will be a good reference point. A second one would be a credit card. Now, this is a controversial one because a credit card can go either way. If you're irresponsible, you're going to create a negative credit rating.
And very expensive debt at that.
Most definitely. And if you're responsible and you're paying your credit card off at the end of every single month, that's going to really benefit you from a credit rating perspective.
So we're now wanting to improve our credit rating once we've developed a bit of a negative flow in our credit life path. How do we do that? What are some of the things we can go to as to boost that credit rating?
Okay, so some typical things to help you improve your credit rating would be paying your bills and your debt on time every single month, making sure whatever you spent on your credit card that you pay off every single month. Not taking up too much debt on a often or common basis. And also, the controversial one, which we actually touched on earlier, is if you have no credit history, you can't get a credit rating. So you kind of have to get into the situations where you have one or two accounts, but make sure they're responsible accounts.
I think that's the most important thing, is make sure that you can handle those repayments. Grant, thank you so much. We're going to continue this chat. But as always, I think people finding it hugely interesting at the moment. There are ways that we can fight back against the current economic climate. It's not all doom and gloom, but you've got to educate yourself. Well, still lots coming up on your Feel Good Breakfast Show, guys.